Think back to that dark time, 2020, virus spreading across the earth, countries shutting down. Well, we weren't shutting down, and nor was Sweden. What was that about? Anyway, we know eventually England succumbed, but Sweden never did. This is why the guy you're now about to see, his name is Anders Tegnell. He was the guy put in charge of Sweden. He's a proper health man, not an MP.
What those people are asking is, if you are basing your decisions on different data from the rest of the world, what is the data that you are basing your decisions on?
But I think the question is, what data does the rest of the world base their decisions on? I think that's just as relevant. And we've been looking around, and there's very few things around that. There is the report from Imperium, a non-peer-reviewed report. That's one of the few things that you can find. And in most countries, you find nothing.
So according to Anders, the only person who really said that there was a virus spreading across the world was Neil Ferguson, who is famous for, well, being a doom monger. Anyway, at the same time, the next screenshot will show you what is still on the government website under the status of COVID-19 under high consequence infectious diseases. This is what our scientists were saying, but what did our government do? With the lockdowns and everything happening, a prominent doctor from Germany flew to England. He was interviewed by Anna Breeze, who used to work for the BBC, and he said this.
What is going on? Why is this happening?
Well, we just see from the plain data, from the facts, it's not a medical pandemic, it's a political thing. And if we look in the world what happened, in 2008 there was this big financial crash. Yeah? So in their financial system that dominates the world crashed down. And it was obviously who are the perpetrators? It was the banks and the private owners. And of course, I wanted to reset the system, make a great reset, but 2008, this crash was clear who were the perpetrators. And so what they did they fix it? No. They just put more money into their system. They tripled and doubled the amount of money, and they bought time up to 2020. And now they are planning openly. You can see it on worldeconomicforum.gov. They're planning the Great Reset. And it looks like that the virus is the one to blame for. Well, you just count 1 + 1 is 2. Use your common sense.
Thank you very much. Can you just remind us again who you are, and as for the audience? You can see already we've got 1.3 thousand watching live already.
Yes, well, again, my name is Heike Schöning. I'm a medical doctor.
Shortly after this, before he was due to give his talk, they turned his sound system off, that's the police that is. And then he went to Hyde Park to talk, and this happened.
This is a disgrace. Anything to say, sir? Out the road for me, please. Yes, sir. 1 minute, sir.
So with people being silenced, why were they doing that? If it was all just in our best interests. You know, the severe danger and the risk of death, well, apart from Sweden, of course. And the thing about Sweden is, the guy who ran it, he knew what Tony Robbins later brought out, and here he is saying that.
Already published it again and again, and what it shows is the same number of people have died this year, 2020, as died in 2019, 2018, 2017, 2016, and 2015. 2.8 million people. It's within 10 to 15,000 people every year. The same number of old people died in 2020. The only difference is when they looked by disease. Heart disease, for the first time in 30 years, has come down. Cancer has come down. But COVID has gone up in the exact proportions. Now that's interesting, isn't it? Same number of people died. By the way, in case you haven't noticed, the flu has disappeared. It's flatlined. What are the symptoms of the flu? And by the way, flu kills people, and especially kills older people.
So Tony Robbins, Heike Schöning, Anders Tegnell, millions of conspiracy theorists. They're not the only ones. Listen to what Christine Anderson, member of the European Parliament, has to say.
This whole COVID madness, this so-called pandemic, it was just a test balloon, a gigantic test balloon. Well, for what, you ask? Well, to see how far they could go, to see what exactly they would have to do to get free individuals in a free and democratic society to consent to being forced into compliance.
So going forward, obviously with just our safety in mind, good old Tony Blair is here to try and help protect us all.
I also think this issue to do with the technology and the digital infrastructure, I just want to emphasize how important I think that is. Because in the end, you need the data. You need to know who's been vaccinated and who hasn't been. Some of the vaccines that will come on down the line will be there'll be multiple shots. So you've got to have, for reasons to do with the healthcare more generally, but certainly for a pandemic or for vaccines, you've got to have a proper digital infrastructure. And many countries don't have that. In fact, most countries don't have that.
So 2020, the year of fear. Old people forced to die alone. Suicide rates through the roof. Businesses destroyed. Well, the government had a party here and there. And in the hospitals, obviously from the videos you've been seeing, they were empty. And all this fear, what was the main thing to produce this? It was the fear used by testing. How accurate was that testing? Let's have a look and see what Boris has to say about that.
The particular problem is that if everyone thinks you can have some test at the airport that will answer whether you've got it or not. Unfortunately, it only works in 7% of the cases. So 93% of the time, you could have a real false sense of security, false sense of confidence when you arrive and take a test. And it only works in 7% of the cases. It only works in 7% of the cases.
So, how Tony Blair know multi-shot vaccines are on their way? I wonder. Anyway, what with that and the climate change control and how we're all having to do things which, well, you know what it means. More green, less money for us, more money for them. Have a look at this scientist and what he says.
It's nice to be on CNN. Hello to all your viewers. I resent you calling me a denier. That is a word meant to put me down. I'm a skeptic about climate change, and I want to make it darn clear Mr. Kenny's not a scientist. I am. He's the CEO of the Weather Channel now. I was the founder of the Weather Channel, not the co-founder.
And I'm glad you did, because I am addicted to the Weather Channel. I watch a lot of cable news.
Now, hold on just a minute. I'm not done. And CNN has taken a very strong position on global warming that it is a consensus. Well, there is no consensus in science. Science isn't a vote. Science is about facts. And if you get down to the hard, cold facts, there's no question about it. Climate change is not happening. There is no significant man-made global warming now. There hasn't been any in the past, and there's no reason to expect any in the future. There's a whole lot of baloney, and yes, it has become a big political point of the Democratic Party and part of their platform, and I regret it's become political instead of scientific, but the science is on my side.
I don't think we're going to come to a conclusion about the topic right here. What I do wonder,
though,
is when you see...
because you wouldn't allow it to happen on CNN, but I'm happy that I got on the air and got a chance to talk to your viewers. Hello, everybody. There is no global warming.
What I do wonder is when you see the government, when you see NASA, when you see other institutions say that 97% of climate scientists agree, do you think they're making it up? What I don't understand is how you square that.
Well, that's a manipulated figure, and let me explain it to you. The government puts out about $2.5 billion directly for climate research every year. It only gives that money to scientists who will produce scientific results that support the global warming hypothesis of the Democrat Party position. So they don't have any choice. If you're going to get the money, you got to support their position. Therefore, 97% of the scientific reports published support global warming. Why? Because those are the ones the government pays for, and that's where the money is. It's real simple, but that doesn't mean it's right. That doesn't make it true. That only makes it bought and paid for. The money goes in circles.
I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to try to refute you on the facts.
That's the truth.
I'll simply say that the vast majority...
Please stand back from this issue and let the two sides be on the air. There are 31,000 scientists who have signed a petition that says it is not valid, that my position is correct. And we'll keep battling, and we will prevail in time, but I don't know if we'll do it in my lifetime.
I do hope viewers are Googling the data you're sharing, because I do think it's skewed. I have to say that. I want to ask you about the weather.
No, it's not true, and I hope you will go to the websites that present the papers that show that none of this alarmism about ice and heat waves and drought, none of it is happening.
So the facts show there is a pandemic of naivety and gullibility. Please stop calling people conspiracy theorists, you just sound foolish.